All right, let's talk about something that's super common, but, we just don't really talk about it much. How the things we do by ourselves can sometimes show up in our intimate lives with a partner. It's a connection a lot of people feel, but might not have the words for. So today, we're going to break it down. So let's just start with the big question right out of the gate. Could the way you masturbate actually be affecting your sex life? Now, I know that's a pretty bold question, but stick with me, because exploring it could unlock a whole new level of understanding about your own pleasure. Okay, but hold on. Before we get into any of that, we need to pause and get one thing absolutely 100% crystal clear. This is probably the most important point of this whole explainer. Yeah, let's just put this out there loud and clear. Masturbation is not bad. It's healthy, it's normal, and it's a totally natural way to experience pleasure. There is zero shame in this conversation. This isn't about judgment, not at all. It's about getting curious about our own patterns. So think of this less like a critique and more like fine-tuning. We're going to look at some common habits, not to say they're wrong, but to understand them better. The goal is to learn how to make them work for you in your relationships instead of maybe accidentally working against you. All right, so first up, let's get into the physical stuff, the how of it all. We're talking about the actual mechanics, the habits we build with our bodies, our hands, and maybe some tools. Okay, habit number 1. This is a big one. It's when we get used to a level of pressure or stimulation that, honestly, is pretty hard for a partner to replicate. You might have heard it called the death grip for guys, but really, this idea applies to everybody. So what does that actually look like? Well, it could be a really, really tight grip, or going super fast. Or maybe it's cranking up a vibrator to its highest setting, or even pressing up against a pillow or the mattress to get that intense friction. So what's actually happening here in the body? Well, it's basically a feedback loop. Your body is smart. It adapts. When you consistently use that high-intensity stimulation, your nerve endings kind of get used to it. Your sensitivity goes down. So to get the same feeling, you have to increase the stimulation even more. And your body adapts again. After a while, a partner's touch can start to feel, well, just not quite enough to get you there. But here's the really good news. Your body is amazing, and it can readapt. You are not stuck. You can break this cycle just by introducing some variety. Try loosening your grip a bit, slow things down, definitely use lubricant, and just get curious. Experiment with what a lighter touch feels like. You might be totally surprised at what you discover. All right, next habit. And let's be real. A lot of us probably picked this one up when we were younger, trying to be quick and not get caught. It's the habit of racing to the finish line every single time. And the thing is, if that's the only speed you ever practice, you're basically programming your nervous system to go from 0 to 60 in record time, which, can make it really tough to relax, enjoy the whole journey, and last longer when you're actually with someone else. Okay, our third physical habit is maybe the simplest fix of all: skipping lubricant. I know it sounds like such a small thing, but it can be a real game changer. Without it, you might be creating a lot of uncomfortable friction. And then what do? You grip tighter to compensate, and hey, that feeds right back into that desensitization loop we were just talking about. So when it comes to lube, you've got options. Water-based is kind of your go-to all-purpose choice that's super easy to clean up. Silicone-based is awesome because it lasts a lot longer. But here's the really crucial thing to remember. Oil-based lubes, while they feel great and are good for massage, are a big no with latex condoms because they can actually cause the latex to break down. Okay, so we've covered the physical how. Now let's shift gears and dive into the mental why, because the patterns happening in our minds are just as powerful, if not more so. You know how our bodies can get used to one type of touch? Well, our brains are the exact same way. They can create these little mental shortcuts to arousal. If you find yourself going back to the exact same fantasy or the same video every single time, your brain can start to think that's the only way to get there. So, how do you build more mental flexibility? Simple. You gotta mix it up. Try exploring different fantasies. Maybe even try focusing just on the physical sensations themselves, with no mental imagery at all. The whole point is to create more pathways to pleasure, not just one single superhighway. Oh man, this next one is huge. Performance anxiety. It's that little voice in your head that whispers, wait, why isn't this working? Or, oh no, what if it doesn't happen this time? The second that voice pipes up, you're introducing stress. And stress is the absolute enemy of arousal. And what happens is, you get stuck in this awful, frustrating loop. you feel the pressure to perform, which causes stress. That stress literally puts the brakes on arousal in your body. Then, because it's not working, you feel even more stress and pressure, and the cycle just keeps feeding itself. So, how in the world do you break out of these cycles, both the physical ones and the mental ones? Well, it all comes down to one core idea, the foundation for everything else we've talked about: self-compassion. You know, so many of us might think we're totally cool and open about sex, but we can still be carrying around this invisible baggage, little bits of guilt or shame from messages we got growing up. And that stuff can quietly get in the way of pleasure, like a subconscious block telling us we don't really deserve to feel good. So, I really want to drive this home. Let's just say it again, because it's so important to really hear this. Masturbation is normal and it is healthy. It is not a moral report card. And maybe the most important thing of all, pleasure isn't something you have to earn or justify. It's just yours. Okay, so when you put it all together, what's the big takeaway here? The goal isn't to stop doing what you're doing or to create a bunch of restrictive rules. It's all about shifting your whole approach from being rigid to being flexible. Yeah, it's really about moving from one mindset to the other, shifting away from those rigid, automatic habits that might be driven by anxiety and moving toward a place of being aware, flexible, and honestly, just kinder to yourself. It's about trading a predictable script for genuine curiosity and playfulness. And that brings us to the most important thing I want you to leave with today. If any of this sounded familiar, if you saw a bit of yourself in any of these patterns, please hear this. You are not broken. You are simply learning. Your body is an incredible thing, and with a little awareness and a lot of curiosity, you can guide it toward even greater pleasure and deeper connection.